cameras are changing the game when it comes to wildlife research. These days, scientists are catching amazing moments that were impossible to see just a few years ago. In this video, we're checking out 5 epic times rare animals were filmed doing things nobody expected. You won't believe some of these shots. Tapir, the largest terrestrial animals in South America, are the tapirs, the largest species. The South American tapir can weigh up to 320 kilograms and measure over 2.5 meters long. Despite their size, they're rarely seen being shy, solitary, and mostly nocturnal. A century ago, the South American tapir ranged from the northern coast of Colombia down to the southernmost parts of Brazil. Brazil's Atlantic forest was once a vast ecosystem that was one of the most species-rich places on Earth. In fact, it rivaled the Amazon in terms of biodiversity, but as the forest was cleared for timber cattle and crop, sightings of tapir became increasingly rare. The last confirmed record of a South American tapir in the Atlantic forest was in 1914 in what is now Llanos Orgullo National Park, but with nowhere left to live, they disappeared from the remaining remnants of the forest entirely for more than a century. No tapirs were seen in Rio de Janeiro state, and it was feared that there was no hope for their return. In early 2024, researchers with the Rio de Janeiro State Environmental Institute began installing a network of camera traps throughout Cunibi State Park, a 38,000-hectare expanse of protected Atlantic forest spanning several municipalities. The goal wasn't to find tapirs, but to monitor the overall biodiversity, looking for signs of elusive mammals like pumas, ocelots, and rare primates. The cameras operated for almost a year, capturing the species that were still managing to survive in the tiny forest fragments that remained. Then, in January 2025, something unexpected happened. One of the camera traps captured footage of not just one, but 3 South American tape. One was an adult female, and she was accompanied by her 2 calves. They were captured on camera several times on various nights moving through the forest. The discovery stunned researchers. The species had either recently returned to the area or had managed to survive undetected for over a century. And these 3 were clearly not the only tapirs in the area. There also had to be a male somewhere nearby. How multiple individuals, including juveniles, managed to persist in a fragment of one of the most threatened ecosystems in the world without being detected was the most shocking part. South American tapirs are known as gardeners of the forest. They eat large quantities of fruit and disperse seeds across long distances, playing a key role in forest regeneration. Their return to the Atlantic forest is more than symbolic. It could help restore some of the ecological functions that this endangered ecosystem had previously lost. Colossal squid. The ocean's depths have long been a source of mystery and fear. For humans, scientifically, they're one of the last frontiers for discovery on Earth. With thousands of new species being discovered each year, some of the most intriguing animals of the ocean's depths are also the largest tails of giant squid have long had sailors living in fear. And despite the fact that they appear over and over again in old tales of sea monsters, they've been surprisingly difficult to document scientifically. In 1925, body parts of a massive squid were found inside the belly of a sperm whale, but it was different from the better-known giant squid. Instead of having long, slender tentacles like the giant squid, this new species had shorter, thicker arms equipped with large, swiving hooks. This species has come to be known as the Colossal Squid. In the years that followed, it became one of the most legendary deep-sea creatures, having a massive body eyes the size of dinner plates and rotating 3-pointed hooks on its arms. The colossal squid is thought to dwell between 1,000 and 2,200 meters below the surface in the frigid Southern Ocean, a place where sunlight doesn't reach and pressure would crush most animals. Very little is known about its life cycle or reproduction, and until recently, our only physical evidence came from a few dead specimens pulled up accidentally by fishing boats. While hypothetical sightings of live colossal squid did exist, there were no confirmed sightings of a living specimen, but in 2024, a video began to circulate that purports to be the first confirmed sighting of the species to ever be recorded. Researchers from the Schmidt Ocean Institute captured this video using a deep-sea submersible in Antarctic waters. They were surveying the ocean floor when a ghostly shape appeared just at the edge of visibility. As their lights adjusted, it came into view. The squid in the video isn't big. In fact, it only measures about 30 centimeters long, but one specific feature suggests that this is in fact a juvenile colossal squid on each of its 8 arms. It's equipped with unmistakable curved hooks.
After hovering in the light for just a few seconds, it slipped back into the darkness and out of sight.
The footage is brief, but its implications are enormous. For nearly a century, this species has eluded direct observation, but now, with this video, the colossal squid has been observed as a real, living creature surviving in the most remote and hostile sea on the planet. Sometimes a species has never been photographed simply because we confuse it for another species that we already know about. This was the case for the Upemba Leche. The species is concentrated in the flooded plains of the Kabenle in the Democratic Republic of Congo, an area of less than 100 kilometers. It's only found in an extremely remote region of Upemba National Park, and for decades it was assumed to just be a population of red lech, a species that is far more widespread. This, combined with the fact that its habitat is so inaccessible, meant that no one had ever managed to take a photograph of them. But in 2005, researchers began to examine some museum specimens that had been collected from the Kemialundo Depression in the 1920s and 40s, and they were surprised to discover that they were in fact their own species. And by this point, they were in peril. Armed conflict and militia activity in the Congo had led to food insecurity across the region. As a result, human populations relied more and more on bush meat for sustenance, and it's believed that thousands of Upemba Leche were hunted over the years as bush meat. At the time of the last scientific survey in the park in the 1970s, it was estimated that at most 22,000 Leche antelopes survived there, but by 2025, researchers were curious to know how many survived. In March of this year, a team from the Department of Research and Biomonitoring at Upemba National Park realized that it was crucial to get an accurate population estimate. They couldn't enter on foot, not only because of how difficult it is to access the plains where the antelope live, but also because of the militia groups that are hiding in the park. So instead, they took to the air, launching an aerial survey using a Cessna 182. On the first day, they spotted a few Upemba Leche, but these ran for cover before a photo could be taken. But then the team got lucky. Manuel Weber, the lead author of the study, told The Guardian, "It was in the morning of the second day that a single individual stopped for just a few seconds, long enough for me to press the trigger before running off like the other individuals we had seen." This is the only image in the world of a living Upemba Lechwe, and the research team hopes that it will serve as a rallying cry to save this extremely rare species of antelope during the aerial survey. The team only saw 10 Upemba Lechwe, and they estimate that fewer than 100 individuals survive, meaning that if a major change doesn't come quick, the species may soon be lost forever. They hope to employ more anti-poaching rangers in the park and perform more surveys so that they can better understand what needs to be done to protect the Upemba Leche from extinction. Rats, these pests have caused environmental harm all around the world and are a source of fear for many. I've personally always felt uneasy around rats, and this recently got far worse when the other night I was awakened by one biting my toe while I was sleeping. But black and brown rats look tiny when compared to the largest species of rats in the world, one of which was recently caught on camera for the first time ever. The Subalpine Woolly Rat was only known from a handful of female specimens found in a museum collection in the 1980s. And these rats are huge. They had been collected from the mountains of New Guinea and measured as much as 85 centimeters long from the tip of their nose to the tip of their tail. Despite their massive size, no photo or image of a living specimen existed, mostly due to the fact that researchers just hadn't gone looking for them. But in 2019, a doctoral candidate at the Czech Academy of Sciences and the University of South Bohemia named Francisca traveled to Papua New Guinea to perform a 6-month survey of the mammals of the island with the help of local tribes and hunters. Volka was able to set up a series of camera traps in spots that locals knew that animals frequented over the course of his research. He managed to survey over 60 species of rodent and marsupial. Towards the end of his trip, Vamila set up a camera trap on the end of a mossy log that crossed a small stream, the perfect place to capture an image of an animal as it traversed the water when he checked the footage. After a few days, he was shocked to discover that the camera had captured the first ever photo of a Subalpine Woolly Rat. Over the next few days, he was able to capture several more images, a video, and he also obtained the first male specimen of the species. The Subalpine Woolly Rat seems to have a stable population on the mountain slopes of New Guinea, where it's protected by its hard-to-reach habitat and extremely elusive nature. There are at least 27 species of gone monkey found in Africa. These monkeys are known for their striking facial patterns and diverse ecology. And the newest species to science is the lula. In 2007, a Congolese schoolteacher was visiting family in the town of Opala. He noticed that his niece was keeping a monkey as a pet, but it looked unlike any monkey that he had ever seen before. He He contacted researchers who were conducting biodiversity surveys in central Congo, and they came to visit the village just like the school teacher. They didn't recognize the monkey in question. It bore some resemblance to the owl-faced monkey, but its markings were different. It had a pale face framed by golden blonde fur, deep-set human-like eyes, and a largely hairless blue perineum, features not known in any documented species. It was possible that this pet monkey had been captured far away and sold locally, or perhaps it was a strange hybrid specimen. But after speaking with local residents, the researchers learned that this monkey was actually well known in the area. In fact, people in the towns all around the Lamy River had a name for this species: Lesula. Targeted field surveys in the forest south of Opala were launched, focusing on the areas bounded by the Chihuahua, Lumami, and Lualaba rivers, but finding a living Lesula was proving harder than expected. The researchers were able to record their vocalizations, perform DNA analysis, and examine their skull morphology, leading to the species being described in 2012. But still, they just couldn't seem to observe enough of the monkeys to learn much, if anything, about their ecology. Lesulas are one of 6 species of Ghanaian monkey found within their range, but when canopy surveys were done, the other 5 species were being spotted regularly. But the lula almost never appeared. In fact, one primatologist who spent 6 weeks in Lumami National Park in 2012 didn't see a single lula until the very last day, when one walked across the path in front of her, visible only for about 10 seconds before disappearing again. A creative solution was needed in order to document them, so a team of researchers with Florida Atlantic University turned to camera traps. They placed 92 camera traps all around the park and left them running for 3 years in video mode, capturing thousands of hours worth of video in total. The lula were captured on camera 598 times, but the researchers were surprised which cameras were capturing them. It wasn't the ones placed high in the canopy, but the ones placed close to the ground. It turned out that the lula were far more terrestrial than the other species of Ghan, explaining why they had been so difficult to observe in previous canopy surveys. The videos also revealed that the lula were more abundant than researchers assumed and lived in groups of up to 32 animals, most containing a single male accompanied by females and their young. While the population seems strong for now, it's still threatened by illegal poaching for bushmeat.